presentations and two keynote basically. And keynotes are coming from two very the wonderful institutions. One is the public institutions, local government institutions, Dhaka North City Corporations. And the second one will be given by the World Bank. And we have also two more presentations. One presentation to be given by Rashid Anjum Adil, and she will take us through like an experience of reviving Hajaribagh, one of the prominent urban settlement of Dhaka. And the second presentations we are expecting from a forum called Bangladesh Nagor Unnayan Sangbadik Forum. That's basically Urban Journalist Development Forum. That's the professional bodies of the journalists who has been very active on the on the issues of the urbanizations and urban development. We also have two discussants today, very distinguished discussant. Mr. Mustafa Qayyum Khan, who is the senior advisor to Bangladesh Urban Forum, and of course the urban stakeholders in Bangladesh very much known with of course Mr. Mustafa Qayyum Khan. He has been a veteran and very senior urban activist in Bangladesh, and happy to have you Qayyum Bhai as a distinguished panel today. And we have also a second panelist, a discussant, Muhammad Russell Kobir, who hopefully will join us, and I believe he has joined us, and who is the managing partner, Planted Consulting and Services. So I will little explain that. So we'll have all the presentations at the very beginning, and then we'll also have our discussants who will make comments based on the presentations to be made. And I am not sure whether we can really kind of take some comments and intervention from the audience who will be connected us throughout the session. So I already see comments in the chat box, but I'll shortly find it out how we can really take the live feedback from the audience and the listeners who has been listening and watching through the different digital platform. So, and I'll be very much happy to really also to welcome comments and the questions and the feedback from the audience after having all these presentations. And let me see how basically we can handle it, and then we'll wrap up. So since this is a 2-hour session, so we'll try to basically finish it up by 5 p.m. Dhaka time. And so my first request to the presenters and the discussions would be that so that they can really finish up within their the stimulated the time. And so as I said, I'll shortly introduce basically the keynote presenters and the panelists. But before that, if I also may kind of shed a quick light on the subject matter of today's topics, which is undoubtedly very interesting and of course also pertinent to the contemporary urban discourse of Bangladesh. And urban redevelopment or urban renewal, whatever we say, is a very vital areas of the urban planning and urban development discipline. And there are lots of interesting and innovative work happening around the globe. We know some of them. However, when you look at Bangladesh, our experience is still probably, when it comes to the urban redevelopment and the renewal, is I should say still very modest and kind of mixed. Although it has got a lot of tractions from the urban stakeholders in recent times, there are some emerging examples and practices, and I believe some of them we'll basically hear from our distinguished keynote presenters and the keynote presenters and the discussant. But still, I should say that this is an area largely remain untapped in Bangladesh, and we know that urban redevelopment contributes to develop a city's comprehensive vision. It improves the physical, economic, and social condition of a city. Therefore, it enhances the city competitiveness. And city competitiveness is very critical for Bangladesh, especially to transform Bangladesh a fully developed nation by 2041. And we all know that that will only happen if our urbanization process is well planned, if it is resilient, if it is inclusive and sustainable. And as we know, the urbanization is the engine of growth, and we have seen that the economic growth, what we have seen in Bangladesh in recent times, that the entire economic growth and the urbanization has become almost synonymous. And of course, I should also mention it that the ongoing pandemic also was and still we are in the pandemic, is the biggest wake-up call, since pandemic has almost emerged as an urban pandemic, since most of the infections and the death rates happened around the world in cities largely. So as I said, the pandemic is also a wake-up call for reimagining our urban future and redesigning our the urban fabric. So without a further ado, I would now basically directly step into the keynotes. So first, I would like to invite the Dhaka North City Corporations, who will make the first keynote. So Mr. Maksud Hassem, who is the Chief Town Planner of Dhaka North City Corporations. I would request him to basically make his keynote remarks. And as I would like to also kindly and very humbly remind you all that we have given the 15 minutes maximum. So I would humbly request to also to basically finish your presentations within 15 minutes so that audience can ask you the questions and give feedback if there is any. So with that, over to you, sir.
Thank you, Ashikur Rahman bhai. Can I get my screen share on?
Yeah, this is already in the screen. So.
That's okay. Thank you. First thing, what I was trying about, I was posted in this Dhaka North City Corporation early in this year. So first time, I think that there should be a strategic plan at city scale. So I was making a TOR for a strategic plan of Dhaka North City Corporation over the city management activities. We do have that content of a strategic plan. First thing is we should formulate a strategy for this North City and formulate public space strategy that is mostly active part of the city. And we do have urban amenities like solid waste management, community health, some waste management, something like this. And if we see the strategic document at national level, we'll see that we do have Bangladesh Delta Plan, SDG, Transport Plan, and 8 5-year plan, Perspective Plan. These are all policy level documents. So we should make this some spatial interpretation. First thing, if we see the Delta Plan, our first strategic level plan, that is, it's a holistic, it speaks about the holistic long-term plan, blending of water management and spatial development, and well-functioning planning and implementation structure. And if we see, there's an integral flood risk management, that's flexibility of return reservation, different return period designing, and change values with growing prosperity. And it speaks about multifunctional land use planning. And if we see about hydrological based land use planning, we'll see from such like this a flowchart from national level to regional level, then city level, and last of all, urban infrastructure. And the topmost design, that's a physical design, is totally absent in this planning typologies. That's most of the city corporations or city authorities cannot use this type of land use plan for absence of this topmost tier. That is, we don't have detailed infrastructure design. So if you see digital elevation model of Dhaka, we'll see ups and downs. So here are some up areas, the red ones, and here are some lowlands. So these ups and downs, elevation, they should come under planning considerations during designing and planning of city management or city infrastructures. And if we see the total city, almost everyone say that Dhaka is a very unplanned city. And if we see this map, we will see that about 50% of the city area is planned. That is, we do have regular grid iron pattern, and half of them are developed by government, PWD, NHA, Raju, and some are private developers. And 10% of inner area in the city, these are key point installations like airports, Dhaka cantonment, etc. And if we see the CBD area, we will see that some commercial activity is growing over this planned area. One is Gulshan and Uttora. So due to absence of planned commercial area, Gulshan, Baridhara, Bonani, this area are infiltrated with commercial activities. But in a structure plan of Dhaka, we have seen that Dhaka Structure Plan 1995 designated Karwan Bazar as the CBD of Northern Dhaka. And we do have a very prominent industrial area that was later converted by PWD ministry as commercial complex, commercial areas. So we do have a great opportunity to expand the CBD areas and commercial activities. So আমার স্লাইডগুলো কি দেখা যাচ্ছে স্ক্রিনে?
জি, we can see your slides, হাসাম ভাই।
থ্যাংক ইউ। সো আরেকটা বিষয় হচ্ছে যে ঢাকার পাবলিক স্পেস। সো এখানে একটা বিষয় আসতে হবে যে আমাদের অ্যাক্সেস কানেক্টিভিটি, এই জিনিসগুলো ঠিক আছে কিনা। সো ইটস এ মেজর এরিয়া অফ আরবান ইকোলজি, অ্যান্ড ইনক্লুসিভ পাবলিক স্পেস ডিজাইন করা কিন্তু আলটিমেটলি আমার কি বলে এটা আরবান লাইফের একটা বড় সাস্টেনেবিলিটিকে এনশোর করে। সো আমরা এই স্ট্র্যাটেজিক প্ল্যানের মধ্যে একটা পর্যায়ে হচ্ছে স্ট্র্যাটেজিক, আরেকটা পর্যায়ে হচ্ছে পাবলিক স্পেস গুলোকে ভাইব্রেন্ট করে নিয়ে আসা। সো পাবলিক স্পেসের যে লিস্ট গুলো আছে এগুলো মোটামুটি এমন একটা বিষয় কভার করে, আরবান ফ্যাসিলিটিস, পাবলিক ওপেন স্পেসেস, স্ট্রিটস, এই জিনিসগুলো। তো we'll try to do detailed designs that will make vibrant and inclusive public spaces. So we do have around 2000 mosques all over Dhaka North. So এই মসজিদগুলোকে যদি ক্লিন ওয়াটার এবং পাবলিক টয়লেট ফ্যাসিলিটিস এই ক্যাটাগরির সার্ভিসগুলো অ্যাক্সেসিবল করা যায় জনগণকে, তাহলে কিন্তু আমরা আরবান অ্যামিনিটিসের একটা বড় অংশ এখানে সমাধান করতে পারবো। তো আরেকটা বিষয় হচ্ছে যে ঢাকার পার্ক অ্যান্ড ওপেন স্পেস। সো এগুলোকে একটা বড় কাজ হচ্ছে কমিউনিটির সাথে অ্যাক্সেসেবল করা এবং সার্ভিসগুলোকে ইউজেবল করা, এবং স্পেশাল যে নিড যাদের আছে, ডিসেবল পিপল, তাদের অ্যাক্সেসটাকে নিশ্চিত করা। আর এগুলোর একটা লং ক্লক সাইকেল আছে, 24 আওয়ার ক্লক সাইকেল, সব সময় সব বয়সের লোকের সাথে, এজ গ্রুপের লোকের সাথে, যাতে এটাকে ব্যবহার করা যায়। তো আরেকটা জিনিস হচ্ছে যে ইন ঢাকা স্ট্রাকচার প্ল্যান উই ডু হ্যাভ এ গ্রিন করিডোর প্ল্যানিং। সো এটাকে ব্যবহার করে আমরা যদি কমিউনিটি পর্যায়ে পার্ক এবং প্লেগ্রাউন্ড গুলাকে গ্রিন নেটওয়ার্ক দিয়ে ইনক্লুড করতে পারি, তাহলে আমাদের ইকোলজিতে বড় একটা কন্ট্রিবিউশন চলে আসবে। And another thing is our blue network. If you can use these canal networks for transportation, recreation, and public space integration, that will add a great value towards Dhaka. Another thing is community health. Last time during this pandemic period, DNCC converted one DNCC market into Corona Hospital. So that was a great estate. So I think higher order health facilities, it should be also be provided by the Dhaka North City Corporation. So another thing is bus stops. So if you can facilitate this bus stop or transit oriented developments, the current lifestyle or quality of life will increase much more. One of the major function is Dhaka City Corporation is maintaining solid waste management. So we have only one sanitary landfill. It's outside Dhaka North. So we are trying to plan 2 or more sanitary landfill within the city that will contribute less carbon emission or less timing, or the process will be much better. So this is all. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Maksud Hashem. I think this has been a wonderful presentation. I think very stimulating. And thank you also for being a little bit within the time limit. So I hope this will kind of spark a lot of the questions and the feedback and the comments. So what I see that you have taken us through a kind of a state of present urban planning discourse of the Bangladesh. And then you also given us some idea about the urban planning ecosystem. And of course, underscoring the whole issues of the land use plan. And you focused on the public space and brought in also the concepts of the green network, the blue network, and also touched on the transport and the sewage management issue. I think is very relevant and pertinent to our the subject matter of today's technical session. So I hope our panelists will shed further lights on this, and we may get back to you again if there is any questions, and we might have other opportunities also to hear a little bit more from you. So now at this stage, I would like to invite Jerry and Jerry Chen, who is the senior urban economist of the World Bank. And Jerry is an MIT graduate, and also he is the infrastructure investment professional with experience in the public sector, private sector, the multilateral financing institutions, and covering different parts of Asia, including the North America, Sub-Saharan Africa, and the Middle East region. And he has been working with the bank based in DC, and particularly in the area of he's a present. I think he has been working as a sector coordinator for urban infrastructure and disaster risk management. So with that, Jerry, thank you for basically and agreeing to to make an intervention and also connecting today. Over to you.
Okay, thank you. First, could you hear me well, and could you see my slide?
Yes, we can hear you well.
Okay, great. Okay, so Assalamu alaikum. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jerry. So first, I just want to thank Dr. Adil, an organizer, for inviting me to this very exciting event and session. I would like to just make a brief presentation about some of the work from the World Bank side we have been doing in the region. And I'm very glad I'm following our colleague from Dhaka North, Chief Town Planner, because I think what I will be talking about is very sort of along the similar line of what he has mentioned. And in a sense, I will be talking about how some other cities have actually done it. So the real experience. So briefly, I won't have too many text. I basically have maps and photos to go through a sort of a story about urban transformation process in the metropolitan Colombo region in Sri Lanka, and how the city has essentially reinvented itself as a world-class metropolitan. I won't be able to go into a lot of details, but I will just sort of outline 4 points here as sort of takeaway points for participants. The first is, the 4 sort of ingredients to the success, which I, from someone like me who has been sort of closely part of this process from the World Bank side, I feel something very instrumental. The first one is really a grand vision from the highest level. Second one is the very strong execution capacity, the ability to get things done. Maybe it was not there at the beginning, but during the process, this is something definitely building up on the government side in Colombo. And what I've been talking about essentially, has been going on for the past over 10 years now. The third one, I think fits with this today's theme very well, is the integrated planning and the cutting edge design. And the last one is close institutional and across ministry level, city level collaboration. So if you don't remember other things from my presentation, I hope these are the 4 sort of key takeaway points you can remember. So, okay, so how did the whole thing begin? This is the picture of the Sri Lanka's parliament in Batamula area that is in the core of metropolitan Colombo region after 2010 flood. And that's also the time Sri Lanka was coming out of the 3-decade-long civil conflict, which ended in 2009, plus this event, flooding event in 2010. And from the World Bank side, at the time we hadn't engaged in the urban sector for over 10 years because of the civil conflict. So at 2010, we were discussing with the government then, how do we support them, and what is the government's grand vision to sort of start to revitalize the capital region of Sri Lanka. So it needs to sort of start from somewhere. So after a lot of discussion, we made a decision with the government together to take one entry point, that is to tackle the urban flood issue through the World Bank support. I think Mr. Masuk also mentioned this important issue. I think it's very important, very relevant for Dhaka and for Bangladesh in general. But we also agree that it shouldn't just look at urban flood issue. It should take urban flood management as an entry point, but also as we do that, to also stimulate broader urban transformation, which was critically needed at the time for the country to stimulate the growth and revitalize the economic development and create jobs for the people. So these 2 points were very clear, were considered as the principle of our re-engagement. Within that background, Government Sri Lanka and the World Bank initiated a project, World Bank finance project called the Metro Colombo Urban Development Project, MCUDP, in 2010. Total is 225 million USD. As of today, the project is more than 25% implemented and dispersed. Only one big package remaining, which is to be completed soon. So I will be able to show you some of the interesting results. So I think everything, as we have this concept in the high-level agreement with government, all the work needs to start from evidence-based planning. So we're looking to the Metro Colombo water basin area, which is going beyond the city municipal boundaries. And this water basin includes essentially quite a few municipalities, including Colombo Municipal Council. And also there was a lot of hydraulic modeling work done, very rigorous work with very prestigious international firm supported by the World Bank. And we did a lot of rainfall data update. And it was very interesting as we did that in 2010, what we realized is what used to be a 50-year return period rainfall intensity data at the time in 2010 has become a 20-year return period. So you did see the real impact of climate change through collecting, updating these data. So without going into too much detail, I think this map is very kind of interesting, important. That's sort of what we came out, as an overall strategy as we design our interventions, building on the hydraulic model. So the 3 circles I put here, the sort of purple blue one is sort of the upstream of Colombo water basin. Okay, then coming down to the middle part of it, which is where the Parliament building and all the lakes are located, and then come to the yellow circle part, which is sort of the downtown part of Colombo Municipal Council, and that's where it's closer to the sea, to the ocean. So the overall strategy we took, which is also the hydraulic strategy, is that at the upstream part, we should try to divert the water. Okay, so the diversion, so we have a lot of investment identified to support that strategy. So the water doesn't come to the Colombo water basin to the extent possible. While in the middle part of the Colombo metropolitan region, we should try to retain. So a lot of retention capacity is needed and needs to be created and preserved. And that's, I will also talk about an interesting project on wetland during later part of my presentation. And when it comes to the downstream part of the water basin, we should try to discharge to the extent possible. So let the water go out to the sea. So we had a sort of lot of investment, basically rehab outlets to the seafront from the drainage system. So that's an overarching strategy, which at the time was very clear, very strong. As we go out to the stakeholders, people very quickly understand what we want to do. Because if you show them a list of 30 or 50 projects, people usually don't fully understand the rationale, the idea behind it. So this was the sort of scheme we used a lot at the early stage of project design phase. Then that one translated to this map. Essentially, with that strategy in mind, we actually identified together with government over 30 investment packages, including all different kinds of civil works, equipment packages, to really look at the urban flooding issue in the Colombo water basin, totaling 180 million, including macro drains. And I will show you pictures, really very, fairly large scale drainage system and the tunneling system, and the micro drainage system in the city, and pumping station, tunnels and outlets, etc. So this is a very holistic process and plan to bring us to this investment identification stage. So this didn't come out as on ad hoc basis. So you say, I want to do this and I want to do that. That's not how it worked. So, and what's also important to know is after implementing all these investment, we also know what will be the end result. And the end result is not zero flooding in Colombo region. No, non-city in the world can afford zero flooding in any city. So we can only ensure reduced level of flooding according to certain return period of the rainfall and the level of the water tide from Calamine River, which is the bigger river on the northern side of the metropolitan region. So I see all these interventions, results, and outcomes are very integrated, related, and it's very robust. So anyone is politician or normal citizen who wants to look at this, it's very easy to show. So I won't need to go into details, but on the flooding part, I just want to show you a few pictures of ongoing or completed works. I got these photos from my colleague who is now working on this project from last year. So this is the big Mutwa tunnel. I think it's the picture from last year during the COVID. It's more or less completed. And this tunnel plays a very important role during the whole new sort of drainage system in the Colombo region. This again is part of the Mutwa tunnel. It's the rock excavation work, which was going on at the time. And as I mentioned, the outlet structure construction for one of the drainage system to the ocean front. Some of the works that is going on in the middle of Colombo Municipal Council. And this is the pumping station. So we have some small scale drainage system, but what I show you is some of the larger scale, which was very difficult from the design stage, from the procurement stage, and not to mention on the construction stage, not a lot of disturbance with the traffic, with people's daily life. So a lot of good communication strategy is needed. Good participation and consensus building is needed. I mean, it's a 10-year process so far, and I have 10, 15 minutes to go through, so I won't be able to tell you all the sort of details of it. So let me pause here on the flooding part. And the second part of my presentation is to show you how we used urban flood management as an entry point, but really to address the broader urban transformation demand and how to stimulate the growth. So I will use one example. As we were designing the project, we did observe this huge potential on the very, green ecology resources that is in the middle of the metropolitan region, which is this is the photo from only 1 kilometer away from the Parliament building. However, as we were walking around the sites, we already see a lot of encroachment, illegal construction already happening. Which it was not well regulated, and was a lot of interest in continuing that pattern. And at the time, there was a lot of heated discussion in the city and in the country, why we should preserve these wetlands. People asking, people say, let's use it for development because we don't have sufficient land. I mean, that's a question, that's interesting. If you go to any city, nobody will say we have sufficient land. Every city will tell you we don't have sufficient land. And the second one is people say, let's dredge it, to develop urban park. We need more urban park. We don't need wetland. So it's a lot of different voices there. So if we bring that back to the higher level picture, this is one of the early map I show you. In the middle part of the metropolitan, as part of the broader strategy, if you still remember, the key focus is to retain. So therefore, the retention capacity is very critical. If those retention space cannot be preserved and upgraded, then the hundreds of millions of dollars we are putting and investing to this system will be of very limited use when the extreme weather events happen. So here I will show you one project, which is actually, I don't know whether you can see my mouse, is this green space here. And the Parliament building is right here in the middle of the lake. So, and this is the area I was talking about, no? So we say, okay, this is the sort of the big canal system in the middle of the metropolitan region. So what we really started is the overall planning process for the entire water system, especially for this key central lake area. So we didn't jump right into the wetland design. And we look at what are the other wetland resources, ecological resources that is adjacent to this area, and what are the system of workability to connect them, and what are the cultural heritage. The old Cotec Kingdom rampart was also there, and there's huge tourism potential there too. So we calculate the economic benefit. If government invests certain dollar amount in this system, then they will be able to attract 1 or 2 more bear nights from the tourists coming to Sri Lanka, which at the time they don't really come to Colombo, so they go to Kandy and other cities. So those 1 and 2 extra nights from tourists brings huge economic and tourism revenue to the government. So I think all those calculations also was very useful for the government to decide, okay, we really should do it and we should do it right. So I will also show you this one, and this is the, some of you maybe recognize, this is the famous necklace system from city of Boston in the United States, designed by the famous landscape architect who designed the Central Park in New York City. So this is the map our client government at the time took out and showed it to us. So they say, we want to do something like this, as we were showing them this map for Colombo. So we were very kind of, encouraged as we get into this stage of discussion, and just to show how, you need to have this high level vision, and you need to be willing and encouraged to benchmark yourself with the best metropolitan, the best case in the world. Okay. So again, not going into details, this is some of the pictures. Actually, this project has been completed. So this is the some of the photos. It's actually a lot of ecology resources that we didn't fully realize at the beginning. So as we get into the design stage, the more interesting things came out. This is one of the photo. We also went to Singapore to learn from their wetland park design. So we borrowed a lot of interesting examples from Singapore. We got the famous organization from UK for wetland preservation to come to Singapore to Sri Lanka to support the government. And also to show you, actually, we later on realized there was very much a lot of potential on biodiversity. Some of the birds and animals we, totally was not aware that was even existent. Actually, that was also now it's become a very good spot globally for bird watching. So a lot of people who before was in Singapore bird watching, now a lot of them switching to Sri Lanka for bird watching, also partially because of this wetland. And this is also one photo I just want to show you. I mean, as we work on this public space, as my colleague from DNCC was talking, it's not only about physical space. It's more importantly about how you use the space, how you inject the life, the activities, and all these economic and education opportunities into these spaces. No? So this space now is actually becomes a very good spot for a lot of schools. They bring the kids to this, sorry, I didn't mention the name of the wetland park is Bedagana. So if some of you want to Google it, there's a lot of information on internet, on Twitter, on Facebook. So Bedagana Wetland Park, now also a lot of schools, they bring the students to come, education program for them to understand the different species, plantations, etc. So this is a really sort of how you design the program into your public space. I want to use this one slide I'm just going to be finishing my presentation very soon. So this is not a Bedagana wetland case. This is another town hall park in front of the Colombo Municipal Council town hall. It's a very historic town hall park. It's a very big one, but at the time was very kind of run down. So under the project, we also rehabilitated and upgraded this park. And you will see, if you can again see my mouse, this is the CMC Town Hall, and this is the Town Hall Park. It's fairly big. So under the project, we upgraded the face facade of CMC Town Hall, the lighting system, the space in front of it, and we upgraded the road and drainage system around this Town Hall Park and inside the Town Hall Park. So the whole package, we have a few packages work on this system. So now it's become very, very vibrant spot for kids, for families. And it's interesting, around the park, in the past few years, you start to see a lot of restaurants, coffee shops, tea shops now coming up. So that's a good indicator case to show as a government, once you put your public sector money in the right place, you really can encourage private sector to come in and put up their own money to improve their own shops, to sort of develop the business, etc. This park also during last year, COVID has become a sort of space for people to take vaccine, for people to gather. And also this park, as we design it, is also, it's not a wetland, it's a municipal park, but also we design it in a way it could play the retention function when the extreme events happen. So actually during one of the flooding event a few years ago, this park, municipal park, was indeed flooded. And you know, I remember at the time the One News article wrote a big article criticizing the government and the World Bank. You know, it's World Bank put the money, now the park is all flooded. So we actually told them, actually, this is exactly the purpose of this park. It's supposed to be flooded, so it increased the retention capacity of the Colombo city when a lot of rainfall is happening. So this, I just want to show you this. This is my last slide. Again, sorry, I couldn't go into a lot of details. I think I probably touched upon you know, some of these points during my presentation. You know, just maybe a little bit more on the second point on the execution capacity. I can tell you, you know, when it started, I think people were really figuring out how to do it. It's a big project, you know, for CMC and for other municipal council under this project. They have been doing, you know, regular city level works, smaller scales. A lot of them are operation maintenance kind of work. These large scale infrastructure, they haven't really, you know, been exposed to. But as the project carries on, they really build up their capacity. And from the bank side, we were very encouraged to show the dramatic change of their capacity and their commitment to this. And I can tell you that actually this project does not have supervision consultancy. So all the supervision work was done in-house within the city and within the central ministry agency. So they were able to really handle this and do a very superb job in making sure the works are completed in high quality. On the institutional part, again, this involves multiple ministries, multiple cities, and cuts across different government. There was 2-3 rounds of government election happened during the life cycle of this project. But that's also to show how robust this project design is regardless which government was there, this project design remains the same and implementation continued. So let me stop here. Thanks once again for inviting me to be able to talk briefly about some of our experience. And I look forward to the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. I think this is a wonderful presentation and indeed a brilliant story of Colombo's urban redevelopment process. And indeed also very interesting to see how the flood proofing or the tackling flood has really worked out very well as an entry point and also triggered, you know, a bigger development. And also very encouraging to learn that how a well-crafted strategy can lead to a list of investment. So thank you for basically taking us through the different examples. And also, I think this what the lessons or the message coming from this, the presentations, and that how a good planning and the cutting-edge planning can open up the opportunities for, you know, the of course supported by the high-level vision. And I like that we have articulated the grand vision of the top policymakers is really, you know, could play the instrumental role. And also, I think what I also like very much that is that the city also could be a kind of hub of biodiversity. So looking at the, you know, beyond the box city, not only for often the livability is articulated with the, you know, the service, amenities, so and so forth, but maybe we not always, you know, look at the more like the deeper issues, like what you have brought in, the whole issue of the biodiversity. And also thank you for also basically, you know, to basically, you know, present that how the space, the public space could be a catalyst for youth engagement and activism. So thank you, and I believe our distinguished panelists will also shed further light. So what I basically thought that since we have 4 presentations, maybe we finish up all the presentations, and then we'll bring in our basically the distinguished discussant. So now I would like to invite our 2 basically the presenters. As I mentioned initially, we have 2 presentations, one from Ms. Rashid Anjum Adil, and she will make a presentation on reviving Hazaribagh, a study to turn a brownfield into a breathable space. So I hope Rashid Anjum Adil, you are here. So yes, sorry, it's my very pardon me. I don't know why I thought it's not. It's she, not he. Yeah. So it's my bad. It's my bad. It's my bad. So sorry for that.
It's
So
okay.
yeah, thank you. So thank you, Rashid Anjum Adil. So with that, basically, I would like to request you to basically make your presentations.
Should I give the presentation in English?
Please feel free. If you think you can manage it in English, since we have also international audience. Otherwise, you can also make it in Bangla. So you have full freedom.
Okay, thank you. I am continuing in English. So I am Rashid Anjum Adil. I have graduated from Architecture Department from Bangladesh University of Engineering and Technology. So I am the paper I am presenting today is actually my thesis project for the final year. So I am sharing the slide now. Is the slide visible?
Yes, we can see that. Please carry on.
So my paper title is Reviving Hazaribagh, starting to turn a brownfield into breathable space. So what is a brownfield? A brownfield is defined as expansion, redevelopment, or reuse of which may be complicated by the potential presence of hazardous substance, pollutant, or contaminant. As we know, the Hazaribagh area was established in 1940, around 1940, and it is used as a tannery area in Bangladesh. And it was relocated to Shabar area in 2016. But since then, the area is left in that condition, or maybe there are many problems still with that tannery wastage. So here is the location of that Hazaribagh area in context of Dhaka. Here is a brief history of Hazaribagh area, which was established in 1940. I am going a little bit fast because the presentation is a bit longer. So please feel free to ask for anything if I am going too fast. So in the aim of my thesis was reaching the process of regeneration of brownfield. Objective was the present condition and importance of the site, to understand the present condition and importance of the site, the present contribution pollution level, and the probable remedy for them. Knowing the demand of the inhabitants, new development procedure, the possible guidelines to regeneration of new land use, and a compatible master plan. So methodology, I followed that, and the main step was to identification of the problem, and I mainly worked on 3 steps: present situation, remediation, and future land use. So what are the problems? The problems was basically environmental problems, and there were some land use problems as the area is surrounded by residential areas, and we know the tannery area is a very polluting industry. There are some problems with the road network and the socio-economic condition. So what are the environmental problems? The environmental problems are regarding the wet process of tannery. We know that many chemicals are used in the tannery process. The main pollutant are the chromium-based chemicals. So we started some research paper also when I was working on this project. A study from MIST University was running. So we collaborated with them, and used their research result also. So when we studied the contribution situation, and we found contribution problem in these spots. Actually, these spots were tested for convenience, so we can have an idea of the contribution situation. So we found that if there is a residential area around, the remediation value of the contribution value should be lower than 300 milligram per kg, but here in many points of that Hazirwag area, the consumption level is 27,000 milligram per kilogram. So here are some more points which data is collected. So here is some value of chromium contribution, cadmium contribution, lead contribution, and these are the main elements, main pollutants actually. We also did some existing fluorine one study. We can see huge birds and animals there. Also in there is a canal, and we can find some fishes and birds there. And these are some formal study, floral study. Land use and ownership, and there is a big problem with the land use pattern, as the total area is almost 130 acres, and the most of them are private ownership land. So here's some road network. This is the road network activity with the Dhaka city of the Hazirwag area. We can see that Hazirwag is very much connected with the other main attraction point of Dhaka city. Social commission. So what happened when the tannery area got shifted? The main tannery area got shifted to Shaban, but many people working in the tanneries were still living in that Hazirwag area, but it was not suitable for them, and many of them also shifted to many other professions. So how did we collect the data collection? We did some questionnaire surveys on the experts from the business owners and the local inhabitants. These are some questionnaire samples. These are some business. So the most of the business owner in that area were now 29% of leather shops and 35% of chemical shops. So what they want, the business owners always saw the Hazirwag area as a commercial area because of the history of that area. But what are the expectation of the local inhabitants? The local inhabitants mostly who live there want that area as a residential area. Some experts want that as a open or recreational area because of the containment. The expert here are some experts' opinion we charted here. The experts suggested that the heavy contaminated area should be left as open area, and the other area might be developed or regenerated according to the proper process of remediation. So existing, we can here see some existing site condition. This is the main canal through which the chemical pollutants ran to the Buriganga river. Here, this was 2019 of that Hazirwag area, and some local people, local users of that area. So we found many spots with any many raw heights, and the main wet process, though the main wet process was not running in that area, it was used as dyeing and drying industry. But it also generated many wastage in that area. So these are some images of that area. So the area is shown as the most part is shown as the residential area, and some area is shown in the depth of previous depth as commercial area. At that time, at Rajuk, and redevelopment project was planned or discussed. This was their considered area of redevelopment. Later they came to this site. So we did some sort analysis, dividing the whole Hazaribagh area in several parts. So here the sort analysis, huge area of the site is itself for development, connected with various important economic zones in Dhaka city. Proper development can create impact on the whole city. Witness a heavily contaminated area, contamination remediation can take several years according to the chosen process of remediation. What are the opportunities? The opportunities are after remediation, the development of the site area can be effectively connect old and new Dhaka. This will increase the value of this area significantly. What are the threats? Lack of proper remediation process can slow down the next development phase, and if contaminations are not properly eradicated, it will create further health and environmental hazards like present condition. So, determination of remediation process. For remediation process, we divided it into process, pre-treatment and the ongoing remediation. So, pre-treatment can be the most polluted areas can be remediated by superficial removal, visible excavation, soil pollution, topsoil removal, deeper soil removal, and capping in some areas. And the long process can be the phytoremediation is a viable remediation process. So pre-treatment, we found that in the red marked area, these areas are mostly polluted from the research results. So, and we can superficial excavation and visible excavation. Superficial excavation can remediate a big part of the pollution or contamination. And then we propose phytoremediation for the long process of the area in the area most affected. So phytoremediation is a process to remediate the soil and water with plants. There are some criteria of phytoremediation. We also studied about some trees or plants which are from our local region and can remediate the soil and water. We studied some foreign studies and correlated it with our local context, which plants can be used here. So here jackfruit and sunflower, water lily, etc. can be used, can be remediated the soil and water also. So here are some more species which can be used as a remediation. There are some trees which can remediate the area, but if they are edible, that people should not eat that vegetables or fruits immediately in the remediation process. If the foods are collected from that area, it can harm the people for because of the chromium contribution. These are the absorption of these are the absorbent of the chemicals, which can affect the people also. Here is a chart showing the duration, growing duration of different plants, which can be used as the phytoremediation process. So what will be the land use of the project? What should the land use of the project? This is pretty confirmed that the area should be used as a residential area as it is surrounded by a residential area or some mixed use. It can be developed as some mixed use zone. Also, Dhaka is facing some land scarcity. The density is very high, so it can be developed as a mixed use area and a residential area. Here's some housing demand study of Dhaka city. So how the development process should be done? Here's an example how can it can be done. The land reclamation and the remediation process is the main concern at the first step. The remediation process. Earlier I mentioned the excavation, visible excavation can be done, and then it can be remediated slowly and be redeveloped. Here are some steps of that process, visual representation. So the master plan I proposed as the mixed use area with all the necessary facilities for the new development. The new development is necessary because the land is have a very high value, and it can compensate the industry owners also, as they oppose to development, and it can convince them to come to the redevelopment concern. So here are some proposed canal network, road network, pedestrian network, green network, and the full master plan. Some amenities proposed in the area, institutional amenities and mixed use zones, and other residential areas. So these are the zoning, the main road network, secondary road network, tertiary road networks. Block development, we know the plot development and block development are two types of development. We are proposing here some block development to accommodate large areas of green and open area in this area. Here's an example of that area which can be done. Some visuals of that development. Sorry.
No, please go ahead. If you could finish up in the next 2-3 minutes, that would be nice.
Yeah, I know. The educational zone area, the canal area can be like this in future. Consideration in future, we also can consider the solar panel, green roof, rainwater harvesting, concrete waste management, etc. for sustainable development. Thank you. I also have a video, but I think in Zoom it will not be shown correctly. Should I play it?
কত সময় লাগবে? I think you can try.
3 minutes.
3 minutes. এটা কি অ্যানিমেশন কি বললেন আপনি? এটা
হচ্ছে সাইট রিলেটেড একটা ভিডিও, সাথে অ্যানিমেশন দেওয়া আছে।
Okay, let's try. If it is 3 minutes, so if we could work it out, otherwise we'll move to next presentation. Why not you try?
এটা কি দেখা যাচ্ছে?
হ্যাঁ, দেখা যাচ্ছে। এখন now we see the blank slide.
Oh, sorry. আবার শেয়ার করতে হবে। और আমি চ্যাট বক্সে আমি ভিডিও লিংকটা দিয়ে দিতে পারি।
Okay, I think that would be useful if we could at least have a look. So if you could provide the link in the chat box so that whoever is interested, they can take a look. Otherwise, thank you so much, Rashid Anjum Adil, for making also an interesting presentations on Hazaribagh. So I see, of course, this is a kind of, it's an academic, the perspective that how a kind of conventional so-called commercial area could be really transformed into a more kind of habitable or residential zone. So I think, of course, when it comes to the context of Bangladesh and Hazaribagh as a test case, we know how relevant and interesting it could be. So I believe the presentation you have made, that's of course is based on research. Also, possibly could offer a lot of new kind of ideas that our policymakers and the relevant stakeholders will consider. So, and I also hope that our panelists discussants will also give further, feedback, and also if they have any questions and comments. So maybe now we can move to our next presenter. So if you can, if you could stop the slide share, then yeah, thank you. So now at this stage, I think time-wise, we are a little bit running behind the schedule. And so our last basically presentations will be made by Bangladesh Urban Development Journalist Forum. So I'd request Mr. Sohail Mamoon, who is like one of the executives of the Bangladesh Urban Development Journalist Forum, to make his presentations. Over to you, Mr. Sohail Mamoon. Apni, can you please unmute yourself? We can see your slides, but you need to unmute and then speak. Sohail bhai, can you please unmute yourself? And also if you could, if possible, please also, open your video option. Yes, now we can see.
Thank you very much. Are you hearing me well?
Yes, we can hear you. Please carry on.
Honorable Chair of the session, Mr. Ashikur Rahman, Assistant Resident Representative UNDP, and distinguished keynote speaker and discussants, very good afternoon. At first, I would love to thanks to the organizer and partners of the International Conference on Urban and Regional Planning 2021 to give me the opportunity. I'd love to mention an issue that is here is present all the experts, academia, but I am a journalist, so I have some limitation, Now I would like to share my presentation before you on role of journalism in urban development. Journalists or media outlets have been working independently in Bangladesh. If we back to the last century, we saw different plans were formulated by the government. Since then, journalists play their role either criticism or focusing the benefit of the plan. So I would love to mention some plan like Dhaka Town Plan 1917 or Dhaka Improvement Trust DIT Plan, Dhaka Metropolitan Development Plan. That is gradually we have done a series of plan, and in the last century the role of media was not focused on plan. Mostly media outlets criticize or explain the execution of plan. There is so I have two parts of my presentation, that is planning stage of how a media play a role and at the implementation stage. So actually how a media work out, there is different media outlet in Dhaka in Bangladesh. They are working independently, and criticize is being continues as saying Dhaka is an unlivable city now, despite we have a series of plans. In the past century, media has limited scope in the to engaging from the planning stage of a development project, as it was done actually very inside way, and there was not allowed in media. But now media is flourished, and there are many trained journalists to oversee the plans, can play a role as a watchdog since a plan being drafted. Therefore, I would like to I would like to mention one issue: how media play a role during plan stage, and how play in implementation stage. Journalists or media can easily share their overview of a plan, focusing on limitation and benefit. Then people or authority can be aware about their plan, output of the plan, following their reporting of the journalist, who actually a media outlet can do independently. A very good report on a master plan can easily draw attention to the policymaker to rethink about the limitation of the draft plan. Such reports unable to aware the pupil as well as. In many cases, good report can engage the experts. Following the report, government can engage themselves. Sometimes expert can independently join in the platform to improve the plan, as a plan is for the people of Bangladesh. Apart from this, media cover the voice of stakeholders, as it is a way to send their message to the authority. Media also cover the statement of the authorities, and media mainly focus the inconvenience situation. As a poor plan, as a poor plan is a big cause for hazard for a long. A poor plan may cause for mismanagement as well as. Such interactive role media plays usually helpful for the stakeholder regarding the plan to formulate a better or a best plan for the citizen. There is some photographs you saw the mismanagement and some sufferings position of the on the victims of the people. This is my second part of the presentation. That is, once a plan is finalized, then the government decide to implement the plan. And actually, how media play role during a plan was implemented. Well, implementing a development project in Bangladesh, especially in Dhaka, is very challenging due to various reasons. There is corruption in a focus or in one of the main point of view, coordination gap among the authorities. In many cases, authorities do not follow the biodiversity during implement a project. And sometimes implementing a project is a weak cause of sufferings of the citizen. For example, I would love to share another video report. Please watch.
সিটি মেয়রের অভিযোগ পদ্মার রেল প্রকল্পের কারণে খালের পানি প্রবাহ বন্ধ হয়ে এই ভোগান্তি। অন্যদিকে রেলমন্ত্রী বলছেন বর্ষার কারণে এই জলাবদ্ধতা সৃষ্টি হয়েছে। বুধবার একসাথে সমস্যা কবলিত এলাকা পরিদর্শনের পর কোনো বক্তব্য না দিয়ে চলে যান তারা। পরে পৃথক বক্তব্যে একে অপরকে দোষারোপ করেন সিটি ও রেল মন্ত্রণালয়। আমদানি কেন পড়ে
অল্প বৃষ্টিতে ঢাকা দক্ষিণের শ্যামপুর শিল্পাঞ্চল তলিয়ে যায় পানিতে। এছাড়া কলকারখানার নোংরা পানি ভোগান্তি বাড়িয়ে দেয় কয়েক গুণ। পদ্মা সেতু রেল সংযোগ পথের জন্যই এই পরিস্থিতি দাবি ঢাকা দক্ষিণ সিটি কর্তৃপক্ষের। তাই বুধবার রেলমন্ত্রী নুরুল ইসলাম সুজনকে সাথে নিয়ে শ্যামপুরের সমস্যা কবলিত এলাকা পরিদর্শন করেন ঢাকা দক্ষিণের মেয়র শেখ ফজলেনুর তাপস। পরিদর্শন শেষে গণমাধ্যমের সাথে মতবিনিময় করার কথা থাকলেও কিছু না জানিয়ে শ্যামপুর ত্যাগ করেন দুই পক্ষ। পরে গণমাধ্যম কর্মীরা রেলমন্ত্রীর সরকারি বাসভবনে গেলে নুরুল ইসলাম সুজন দাবি করেন জলাবদ্ধতা নিয়ে সিটি কর্তৃপক্ষের বক্তব্য সঠিক নয়।
তারা একটা পয়েন্ট বন্ধ করে দিয়েছে। আমি এটা তৎক্ষণিক বলছি এটা সাইডে যাওয়ার ব্যবস্থা আছে, আমি সেটা বাকি দুটো এটা তবে ভাষা আপনার ইন্ডাস্ট্রিয়াল দিকে তাদের মাঝখানে ওয়াটার লগিংটা হচ্ছিল আমাদের রেল লাইন রুটে আসছে সেটা আমরা
এদিকে রাজধানীর কারওয়ান বাজারে পান্থপঞ্জে ঢাকা দক্ষিণের মেয়র জানান রেলপথ নির্মাণ করতে গিয়ে বেশ কিছু জায়গায় খাল ও নালা বন্ধ করে দিয়েছে পদ্মা রেল প্রকল্প কর্তৃপক্ষ। সমস্যা নিরসনে সব পক্ষের সাথে আলোচনা করে দ্রুত পদক্ষেপ নেওয়ার আশ্বাস দেন তিনি। প্রকল্প চলছে, সেই প্রকল্পের একতরফাভাবে কার্যক্রমের কারণে আমাদের শ্যামপুর শিল্পাঞ্চলটা পুরোটাই প্লাবিত হয়ে গেছে। আমরা আশাবাদী যে আগামী সপ্তাহে আমাদেরকে সময় দিবেন, আমরা বিষয়টা সমন্বয় করব। এদিকে বর্তমান নকশা অনুযায়ী এক্সপ্রেস ওয়ে নির্মাণ করলে পান্থকুঞ্জ পার্কটি আর থাকবে না বলে শঙ্কা মেয়রের। তাই প্রকল্প সংশ্লিষ্টদের নকশা পরিবর্তন করতে বলেন তিনি। আহমদ আলী, টিভি নিউজ, ঢাকা।
রাজধানীর শ্যামপুর শিল্পাঞ্চলে জলাবদ্ধতা।
Thank you for watching the video. I just shared the video as an example of the coordination gap among the different agencies of the government of the Bangladesh. And this is the another report. You saw that a rail link is under construction here. This is a project between Chittagong, the port city of Bangladesh, and the Cox's Bazar, the tourism city of Bangladesh. There is, you saw a culvert that was once designed the project. There was no culvert, but local people complained that this retention point will be destroyed if there will be no culvert. Then there are many media report is published over the issue, and finally the authority is considered to construct a additional culvert at this point. So this is the output of media. media reporting. Once government do well or implement a plan coordinatedly, and then media, then people actually benefited, and media also help to for the future purpose. There is mentioned two projects. One is Hatirjil, one of the best development project in Bangladesh, especially in Dhaka. This project is actually here we focus. If I say Bangla, Chok Jurano Hatirjil, that means it is a very positive report. And another report which is in Dhaka city, LED Aloy Jhalmole Dhaka. That is one when the city authorities install LED light. That is very much fantastic for the citizen of the Dhaka. Similarly, we actually, our journalists also pick up the sufferings issues of the citizen. This is a photograph in Dhaka. Here actually spent crore of money to remove waterlogging from the street, but the situation is not improved. Often media is love to criticism. There is a development project, it is a U-loop in Dhaka. Such U-loop was constructed for easing the traffic in Dhaka. When once a project will not be performed properly, the media is love to play role as to criticize. For example, there is two. I highlighted two media reports. One is a railway project. Another is removing waterlogging. The railway project actually there is some error in the project during planning stage and design stage. Therefore, 134 kilometer railway line once constructed, and after that it is decided to reconstruct. That is the result of spoiling public funds. So we think there is many scope to revise the plan before implement. Well, that is as media is love to criticize, what result actually we can share here. First one is realizing the situation.
Sohail bhai, if you could finish up in the next 2 minutes.
Sure, yeah. Obviously. Realizing the situation, that is authority sometimes pick up the situation and then they realize to revise the plan and remove the sufferings. As a journalist and from Urban Development Journalist from Bangladesh, we think we have some recommendation for the sustainable development in Bangladesh. That is engaging journalists from beginning a plan. That means once draft a plan to engage the journalist, as they have a they can think without border. As a government official or another official, they are thinking actually under a frame, but there is many issues without frame which can only pick up by the journalist. In this point of view, journalists should be invited in the planning workshop. Once government call a workshop for drafting a plan, there should be engaged the journalist. And we also recommend for awarding for the best work if a journalist focus any different things which is actually harmful for the plan or execution of the plan, if he pick up it in his or her report. I am at the end stage of my presentation. I just quote a UN Habitat in 2016. UN Habitat says included urban journalism in its new urban agenda as a key factor for global change, since the role of the media is considered crucial to raise awareness about the new urban agenda among wider audience. That means UN Habitat actually acknowledge the journalism, and as journalism, it can aware people, aware authority, or aware the stakeholders. That is very important for to work in an interactive way. For as every stakeholder is working for a better plan, a better development. Thank you very much for your passion, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Sohail Mahmood, for your very useful presentations. I think this is very encouraging to see that Bangladesh has such a vibrant, the forum for the journalist who has been devoted for the urban development. I think this is also very progressive and a good sign that we have now a very dedicated kind of professionals in the journalism. And in the recent past, we have seen that has been very helpful. So, and that's a very commendable initiative. Also, thank you for giving us some basically, very proven examples that how as a journalist community, you have been really helping in the promotion of the inclusive and sustainable urban development for Bangladesh. So with that, we have finished all 4 presentations, and is truly very comprehensive design, I should say. And thanks to my Bangladesh Institute of Planners colleagues who has basically designed this session. So we have, as I said, we have public institutions like Dhaka North City Corporations, and they have given us a presentation on the Bangladesh's present urban planning kind of a state of affairs, and also given us some good examples how DNCC basically making good planning, and I should say also some of the very interesting and innovative planning. And then we have listened from the World Bank, a wonderful story of transformation of Colombo urban region, how basically the World Bank has helped the Colombo of Sri Lanka to transform the Colombo to and how basically the very well thought through planned basically intervention has triggered numbers of bigger investment. And then we have listened one interesting kind of research work, and also this is for Mr. I think Anjum Adil. I have seen the link you have shared. Rashid Anjum Adil, and I have seen the link you have basically shared. Very brilliant animation, and I really liked. So, and amazed to see that how basically the young architects basically have been planning to transform some of our the settlements and convert them to a more livable. Just one quick feedback for you. I like basically the kind of animation that how the new housing should look like, but I would also request that when you basically project an ambitious housing, so you need to also consider a different set of well-being group. So all are big high-rise houses, but also we need to also think of and cater the need for the different economic group, middle class, lower middle income groups, so that we want to see a city which really accommodate all kinds of the people. Not only the city is not only for the the richer people or for the the upper income group, but however, I think this I think the animation is interesting. And then last we have listened from our colleague from the Urban Development Journalist Forum, and they have given us some very interesting examples how basically journalists as a conscious this kind of community has been helping as part of their professionalism, also contributing in the promotion of the planned and sustainable urban development. So now we'll hear from our 2 discussants. I know that time-wise we are a bit of behind the schedule, and so of course I know that our 2 basically discussants, both of them are very I think, the expert in this particular subject area, and one from like the development community, and I believe also one from the private sector. So first, I would like to request Mr. Mustafa Qayyum Khan, who is the senior advisor for last couple of years of a wonderful platform called Bangladesh Urban Forum. And Qayyum Bhai also has led one of the finest coalition of NGOs who has been working on urban poor called Coalition for Urban Poor for long. So Qayyum Bhai has very vast and very deep kind of knowledge on the sector as a whole. So over to you, Qayyum Bhai, if you could really reflect back. I know it's a very big kind of spectrum, since we have covered so many areas. So I know how difficult it is to really dive deep to any particular. But if you could also highlight few aspects and also raise any questions, concerns, suggestions, and also the way forward. Over to you, Qayyum Bhai.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ashik Bhai, and others who are present here in this session. It's really my pleasure to take part in this session as urban development worker for a long time, and you have mentioned already by now. Yeah, I think as a urban development worker, I really like this topic of this session, redeveloping urban areas for attaining sustainability. I find it from two angles. First is it's how important globally, number one, and how it is important in our national context, nationally. I think globally it is really already proven, as I have come across different world urban forums. I have seen that globally it's very important, and different authorities, different nations have given enough attention to this importance, and I think they are achieving their goals and they are really redeveloping their urban context. So coming to our national context, I think I've got to say something. And as I understand this topic is, in my view, in order to serve greater national interest, how proper and timely the national authorities or authoritative moves are made to cope with the urban contextual changes, growth taking place over times. And the second one, what I think is important, is to ensure perfect living standards with proper urban planning, with availability of proper facilities and inclusive accessibility. I think I would like to be very short. And if there is any question, of course, I can explain more. Since you have time constraint, I think I cannot elaborate more. So in light of this, I have seen 4 presentations. The first one from our Dhaka North City Corporation, and the second one is from World Bank, Mr. Jerry Chen, and the third and fourth from Mr. Rashid Anjum Adil and Mr. Sohail Mamun. I know all 4 of them, and I have come across, I think almost all the authorities who are working for the urban development in Dhaka and all over the country. And the first presentation from Dhaka North City Corporation is, I think, to me, is simply, I think, almost academic. It is that the policies are there, policies are being made, initiatives are being made, and but the success and the results actually that are not really properly, I think, identified here, how it is being achieved or how it is to be achieved, and what are the necessities to make these plans to be really result oriented. But secondly, the World Bank presentation from Mr. Jerry Chen is very encouraging, very encouraging. I really must give the special thanks to him that he has brought some special success models, particularly the Sri Lanka, that is the Colombo region, and also he has referred to some other parts of the world like Boston and other cities, how they have made development or how they are developing. And he has also referred to some important, I think, moves to be made by the authorities. I think what I mean is the national authorities, like, the vision, like the strong execution capacity, like planning and collectiveness. He has also referred to other strategies, but I think these are the 4 strategies I think are very important to me. That is what I think in our case, if I bring that to our case, in our national case, I think there are moves, but thing is that they are not really very much result oriented. Ashok, may I ask you how much time is for me?
Yeah, please, Kayumba, take no problem. Yeah, you can take 5 more minutes, no problem.
Okay,
Please
okay,
carry
thank
on.
you. Thank you. So I think Mr. Jerry Chen's presentation is very, very, I think, important to learn from these success models how we should move to our goals. And third is Mr. Rashid Anjum's presentation. This is what is actually, I think, it's a sort of abscess on our body. This is an abscess on our body. I'm sorry to be critical here, because Hazaribagh is an initiative as a part of Dhaka city. Hazaribagh initiative was, or redeveloping Hazaribagh was, initiative was made long ago. And it has taken by this time long time to move to Sabar. And I think by this time, Sabar has also become populous, and Sabar has also become, I think, it demands that no, it should not be in Sabar, it should move to some other areas far away from the habitation. So from the people's sentiments, people's settlement. I think Hazaribagh is simply a model of our national initiative, and it's a model of our failure, how we plan and how we execute, and how we kill our time, and how we really spend our resources for just, I think, a lack of our, like as Mr. Chen has mentioned, execution power, that strong execution capacity. I think that is where we lack very much. And moreover, the other thing that Mr. Jerry Chen has mentioned about the vision. I think vision includes, or vision demands that according to the vision, we should take proper policies, we should take proper plans, we should take proper implementation steps, and that is how actually we can really achieve our goals. Like then fourth presentation by Mr. Sohail Mamun from our Urban Development Journalists Forum. We are working very closely for a long time. It's really a pleasure that we have a journalist forum who are particularly focusing at urban context of this country. And it's very important. And they have also referred that how they are trying to cooperate with the development process in the country, urban development process in the country, and how they are being able, that is, to bring success to the national initiatives. Actually, he has also indicated that there are some grievances, which grievances are actually not helping them to be more I think, dynamic, or more, I think, strong in their roles. So that is what I think Sohail Mamun Bhai has clearly mentioned. And now, altogether, I think this redeveloping urban areas for attaining sustainability. If we think about Dhaka city in 60s, in 70s, the plans that were made at that time, those were also made with the, I think, due care for sustainability, with the due the considerations. But I think if we evaluate this now, that those were not really, I think, perfect, because with the growth and changes to take place in any settlement, in any area, those were not properly considered. Because, say, I just cite an example here. In Dhaka city, as I can remember, in 71, the Dhaka city had 3 million people. Now it's, I think, plus or minus 20 million. So Dhaka city has expanded, I think, extremely to Gazipur and other areas, far, from the 71 state. So from that time till now, and you remember, I think, our planner, Mr. Terry Stanley, when he was here, and he worked for our one of our urban forums plan. He referred that in 60s how he was involved in the BMDF, Bangladesh Urban Development, in the DMDP, Dhaka Metropolitan Development Plan. So in 60s that plan was made, and even now that plan is being implemented. If you look at Agargaon, if you look at the other areas, you will see how our authorities are actually careless, or I should say being careless, or not really being successful in implementing the plan timely. So this is just one example I'm just citing here because there is time constraint. I would like to be very short. And the other thing is that Hazaribagh and Dhaka North City Corporation, the examples or the policies that has been referred by that presentation, I think it is not really for Dhaka only. We are talking about the whole country. We are talking about the national context, national urban context. So if we only think about Dhaka, I think Dhaka is not the Bangladesh. Dhaka is the capital of Bangladesh. So Dhaka is not the only city that we have to only plan and we have to only develop Dhaka city only to cope with the demands of the time. No, I think we have to also take care of the other parts of the country, and accordingly we have to be rational in urban development process. So I think, in my view, all the presentations are okay. All the presentations are very much, I think, timely, are very much in line with the topic of today, of this session. But Mr. Jerry Chen's presentation is very much, I mean, to me, is a success model, is a learning source, I think, from where we can learn, and our national authorities, even I myself, as a development worker in the urban context, I think there are models like, he has mentioned, so we can learn from his success models, and we can think about, policy formulation, and we can really, I think, make our national appropriate moves for. The third point and last point is this: our national authorities, I'm very sorry to say that redeveloping urban areas for attaining sustainability, still we do not have a national urban development policy, which we should have had long ago. Even if we don't have an national urban policy, if we do not have national land use policy, comprehensive land use policy, how can we really, I think, look at particular interest like the development of urban areas? We do not have an urban policy. First of all, we should have national urban policy and national land use policy. Then we can refer to this. And sporadically, we are having master plans of the local urban governments, like municipalities, city corporations. This sporadic, I think, developments will not really help as it should help the national interest. So I think here I can stop, and I think if I get any question, I can explain. If you can give me some time more, I can add more. Thank you very much, Ashik Bhai.
Thank you so much, Kayum Bhai. I think that has been very helpful. Since you have, of course, you have highlighted some of the key aspects of the presentations, and in particular, you have basically talked about some of the underlying issues and the fault line of Dhaka-centric development planning. And you rightly said that when it comes to the urban planning, we have to go beyond Dhaka and think of the country as a whole. And last but not least, I fully concur with you that the way you have basically underscored the whole importance of the Bangladesh urban sector policy. And I also echo with you that when you made the comment that we have many success possibly, but success are still very isolated, and we might have an island of success, but unless until we have a very comprehensive and explicit urban sector policies, so things remain fragile when it comes to planning. So thank you so much, Kayum Bhai, for being so pragmatic and as well as critical. So now I would like to invite our second key discussant, Mr. Mohammad Russell Kobir, who has been also an urban planning professionals, and he's a managing partner, Planted Consulting and Services. And I believe he has been also kind of the joint secretary of the Bangladesh Institute of Planners. So, Mr. Russell Kobir, over to you, sir.
Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon to all, and thank you, Ashik Rahman Bhai. You rightly introduced me, so I'm not going to that. So, yes, I'm talking about I'm the private sector entrepreneur here, but I would like to give some basic concepts about our today's title. We have the title of this session is Redeveloping Urban Areas for Attaining Sustainability. So there is three technical terms here. If I mention the urban areas, sustainability, and redevelopment. So first of all, I would like to say, so what is urban area? Why we are talking about urban areas and what's the difference between urban and rural areas? Why the urban areas is different, quite different from the rural things. So it's a very general concept. The urban area is a concentration of all resources, peoples, utilities, amenities, economic opportunities, knowledges, as well as political powers. So that makes the urban areas more powerhouse at the local level or national level, and sometimes at the global level. Okay. So it attracts a different attention from the different sectors. Okay. And if I say about the sustainability from my point of view, it's a process of transferring the legacy, resources, knowledges, culture, heritage, achievements from generation to generation. Okay. And this should be done in a way that no one would suffer from achieving or acquiring or overdoing. Okay. So for that, we already have fixed some criteria to achieving sustainability, how we can go for the sustainable development. But sustainability is not a matter of achieving or achievement. Okay, it's a continuous process, like the development and planning and other things. It's a continuous process. We'll do something now, then we will have something again in future to do another things. So it's a continuous process, and we should move forward with these things. And now, if I talking about the redevelopment, as I also told previously, that redevelopment is also a development process, and it's a continuous process as the development, and it's an inevitable. When the development occurs, it needs maybe the next to revise the process what we have done previously, because the thought or thinking is changing. Like 100 years ago, the then planners think urban planning in a different way than the 50 years back. They thought it's a different way. Now we are thinking in a different way. Okay, so it's a continuous process, and challenges are coming, and we have to develop and redevelop so many things. Even we have to redevelop or enrich our knowledge according to the present criteria. Okay. So usually the redevelopment takes place when the city goes unplanned way. Usually city goes in a two way, like a planned way or an unplanned way. Also, unplanned way means the spontaneous growth. We can see in the, if we say the Dhanmondi is a planned way, planned development, then we can see the Kolabagan, Shukrabad is an unplanned or a spontaneous growth. We can see that over there. But in our cases, especially the country like Bangladesh, the redevelopment is necessary in both in planned city or unplanned city, or the planned development area or unplanned development area, because as my previous discussion, Kayumbai said that still we do not follow our planning. Okay, we make the last plan, the DAP is preparing right now, but in 1995, we think we have the recent trend planning development in the newly plan, the Dhaka Metropolitan Development Plan. But how much we have followed as per the plan, how much we have developed as per the plan. Okay, so it's still so many things to do. Again, in the recent structure plan or development plan, we repeated the same thing. But in this 20 years tenure, so many things changes, so many development occurs spontaneously. There is no development control. So we're thinking the same thing after the 20 years, but no, we don't follow the previous plan. Okay, and if we not follow the current plan, then 20 years later, when this period will be finished in 2045, then we have to talk about the same thing repeatedly. So it's not possible, and we cannot bear the redevelopment process repeatedly from our economic conditions or our social conditions, and also our demographic conditions. We have a limited land, we have limited resources, we have to use it properly. We have to think before using the resources. Okay, so the planning is a very pretty much requirement in our scenario, and redevelopment, as I told, that the redevelopment is also a development process. Sometimes we call it redevelopment, but we cannot afford the redevelopment we have one international in Dhaka. We have one international airport, but we cannot make airport like in every 30 years. So if I want an international airport for us, so we have to think that what would happen in 100 years. So what should we need to done currently? Okay, so so now I can directly come to our presentations. The presentation, we have like 4 presentations. First one from the GNCC. It's a very good presentation from the Chief Town Planner of Dhaka North City Corporations, and he presented that how how do we make plan with our limited resources and so many challenges. So he described the things. And the second one is pretty much impressive, as all we agreed, because we have seen some success model there. Okay, and what we think is impossible to our local context. After this presentation, we are pretty much confident that we can also we can develop some same kind of projects or plans in our local context. And thanks to Mr. Chen for these wonderful presentations. And those example success model is not like a success model in a financial sense. It's also a success model in the environment, economically, or biodiversity concept. Is all those presentations seems that those are the inclusive models. Okay, those are developed in so many keeping in mind so many things and all the sustainability things. And as I said, that is really encouraging. And I also believe that there is so many scopes in Dhaka, especially in Dhaka city, but all over the Bangladesh, to make more public spaces, to create more vibrant spaces, to convert the existing places into more inclusive and accessible to all class of people. It's more scopes in our country and as well as in Dhaka also. I'm mentioning Dhaka because I'm living in Dhaka, and also we have a Chief Town Planner in GNCC, from GNCC here. So I would like to request him that they should make some provision so that the private entrepreneurs like us, we can work together to make the city more livable. So we should develop some framework how the private sector can join, or then the private sector can contribute to this the development process. So because like the government has a limited resource and limited scopes of money, as I simply say. So if the private sector can engage, so it will helpful from all parties. And I would like to mention last slide of Mr. Chan's presentations. I think this is the most take-away part from this session, where he's presented some ingredients of success. Like 4 ingredients he presented. Like first one is grand vision, which is really necessary. Now we are in Bangladeshi people, we are now have some visions, like long-term visions. Like we have the 100 years plan, we have 20 years plan, we have, and also we had another 20 years plan recently finished. So we knew the value of the vision. So the grand vision is very important, and he mentioned it very clearly. And also he was talking about a strong execution power. Yes, it is really necessary, the strong execution power. As we are discussing from this session, also the previous discussion, Karim also said the same thing, and also our moderator echoed the same thing, that our execution power is very weak. Execution power is very weak. We have no coordination, no technical manpower, no resources, and even we don't know about the coordination things. Okay, so a strong execution power is necessary to implement the plans. Plan is for implementation. Plan is not for only for a document to keep it in the self. It's a implementable documents. It developed with so many researchers, so many ideas, so many discussions, so many processes are followed. So it's obviously an implementable things. So execution, it's most of the cases, it's, as I said, that it's kept in the self. because of this weak execution power. So I'd like to request all the government sector, and again, we have the DNCC Chief Town Planner. I would like to request him especially that, yeah, we should focus on that. And also, he told about the two more things. One is interactive planning and design. This is obviously and also the cross-institutional collaborations. This is, I think, these are the most takeaway part from this session. The third one, the third presentation is pretty much academic concept, but encouraging. Especially after the second presentation from Mr. Chen, we can dream of implementing such projects in our local context. And I also like thanks to Mr. Rashid, but we should tune up this concept as our moderator said, that it should be more inclusive, and also there is some things you need to tune up as part of the sustainability concept to make this proposal implementable. And the last one from the journalist sector, and they presented their responsibility and duties of journalism in urban development. Basically, they have the bigger responsibility in that case, because they are the mirror and called the third pillar of the society. So when the project runs, they have a limited scope of work, but the journalist are limited to those scope of work. They can go beyond of that. They can find the reasons behind the reasons. They can find the rationality of this project implementation. They can develop some awareness among the people. They can criticize is from the different perspectives. So they have the more responsibility. So, and also I also appreciate the link up their presentation to the UN Habitat's urban agendas concept, and I also think that they are the key factor of the urban development, and I thanks to them that they are here and they have presented their they have cleared their standpoint in the urban development process. So thanks to all, stay safe and nice, and thanks again.
Thank you, Mr. Russell Kobir. Thank you for your very useful, I think, interventions and observations. So thank you also for going into the depth and breadth of like the urban planning dimension. And so I like that we have basically covered the first is the continuity of the planning, and you brought many examples. And second is the whole execution and enforcement, which has been and remained relatively weak in Bangladesh. So thank you for giving us very comprehensive overview and also reflections on the presentations made today. So with that, we are almost at the closing of our today's session. And time-wise, probably we are almost done. I have still 5 minutes in my hand. So what I'm since we don't have I don't have access to the the comments from the our viewers connected on the Facebook and the live streams from other kind of digital platform. So I couldn't really have access, but from the discussions and the kind of the essence I have basically got. So what I would like to do, I'd like to use these 5 minutes so that I open up the session only for the presenters, since you have listened, you have heard from the our distinguished discussant and the comments they have made. If you have any last minute reflections, and so we'll open up for our 4 presenters. Now, if you could use these 5 minutes, so 1 minute each maybe. And I'm sorry to basically being so kind of pressing, but if you could give us any last minute thoughts, what you have basically heard from the discussant. And a few things probably you can think of, I know the time is not in favor of us. One, when it comes to the redevelopment and renewal, financing is an issue. So we have not really have had a chance to go into deeper issue of the financing, but of course this is an area. So we need to know what really works, what doesn't work, and not necessarily today, but that remain as an interesting area when it comes to redevelopment. People's engagement also is a very vital. since without people's engagement, how the redevelopment project can fail or tend to fail. We have some very classic example. Bangladesh doesn't have any failed story, but just to let you know, and this is especially for Jerry Chen, in 2016, Dhaka South City Corporation and Rajuk basically taken up a plan for redevelopment or renewal of the old Dhaka. And frankly, we have not seen much progress as of date. So I know how difficult it is unless all stakeholders are fully mobilized and engaged. And of course, the whole issue of the leadership really came, and particularly the institutional leadership, I think, came heavily from the interventions from both from the presenters and the discussion. So these are, of course, some of the areas, but of course you feel free to take your call. So with that, I would like to open, and I'd first request Mr. Maksud Hashim, if you could come in, and if there is any last minute reflections and closing.
Thank you, Ashkur Rahman Bhai. The matter is, the major part of plan is regarding 10 years strategic options or investment for mostly with Dhaka North City Corporation. First thing, strategic option, then public spaces, urban amenities, and such like this. There will be always some stakeholder participation, but the major investment will be along with Dhaka North City Corporation. So the integration is in planning process or in design process with participating the citizens or even the migrants from outside Dhaka or low-income people or the working class or even the homeless. So DNCC do have a very wide urban amenities or facilities. Through this strategic plan, we will try to make the optimum or best use of this investment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Maksud Hashim, for being so focused. Jerry, can you come over this point?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so first, thanks again for the opportunity and for the excellent comments, discussions from colleagues, shared from colleagues. I mean, not too much additional from my side. I think maybe 2 points. Number one, I think from the World Bank perspective, we are very much keen to continue to share relevant experience from other countries. To bring that into the country dialogue that we are having in Bangladesh. And I myself, I'm currently also working on Bangladesh. The second point is something I didn't cover today, but I think it's very critical because some colleagues mentioned the lack of sector policy, sector strategy. So I think, coming from the high level picture, if you look at the overall urbanization pattern in Bangladesh in the past 15 years or 20 years, I think the key word is concentration. It has been a fairly concentrated process. And interestingly, that is in par with Bangladesh's structural transformation story. And the key word of that is also concentration. So the two go hand in hand in a way. The urbanization in Bangladesh so far has been mainly driven by the creation of manufacturing jobs in Dhaka by the essentially private sector developers. So that's the pattern, and that's the key thing linking economic transformation and urbanization. So that process served its purpose so far, but we also start to see very significant implications on sustaining the future growth, on equity dimension, and on sustainability. So I think that goes back to what two discussions were saying. What is the overall picture on overall country's urbanization moving forward? I mean, we cannot ignore Dhaka for sure. It still is and continue to be the economic powerhouse of the country. However, if you put everything in Dhaka, also there is an investment efficiency issue arising now. So, and we cannot go everywhere. I mean, the government doesn't afford resources to go everywhere. So how do we view the system of cities, the regions and economic corridors in a way, in a spatially targeted way? Do we have a spatially targeted understanding and policy, which then lead to spatially differentiated investment strategy? That's my question. I think will be useful to have further discussion, and I think be good to share since we are planning and urban development professionals. And we are working on that topic, and I'm very happy to continue the discussion in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Thank you for I think bringing in some like the deeper issues around Dhaka and urban sector policy such. So I see that our presenters, Mr. Rashid Anjum Adil is missing here. So I will go straight to Mr. Sohail Mamun. If you have any 1 minute thoughts before we close.
Thank you again, Ashik bhai. Actually, in Bangladesh, government people or experts are thinking that planning is a very much technical issue. So there is no scope to participate with the general people, citizen, actually. But this, but now at time we are in here, people have many knowledge, many things to share with the planner. So I request to you all, once you draft a plan, should sit with the beneficiary group before finalize the plan. That's all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mamun bhai. I think it's a very vital point that whatever plan we make, I think unless this is coming from the people's discourse, it's remain incomplete. And so consulting people for any kinds of planning is I think the first and foremost I think we need to do. So before I close, I also see that our one of the key planner of this conference, the General Secretary of Bangladesh Institute of Planner, Dr. Adil Mohammad Khan, also is still with us. So Adil bhai, we would like to also give us a quick reflections that on the session today. Over
Many
to you.
thanks. I especially big thanks to you for conducting this session in a very wonderful manner. I do not want to linger this session, but just I want to thank on behalf of Institute of Planners VIP to Jiu Cherry Chen for attending this seminar, residing in a very different time zones and accommodating all its schedules for this important seminar. And of course, our gratitude goes to Mustafa Qayyum Bhai, Muhammad Rasul Kabir, Rashid Anjum Adil, and Sohail Mamun Bhai. We are very much thankful to you. And regarding the topic of redevelopment, we know that the challenges of redevelopment in developing countries like Bangladesh is manifold, because there are challenges of gentrification, there are challenges of developing a own model of redevelopment, neither copying the urban models or redevelopment models of the West or the Southeast countries. So we, the planners or architects, are still searching for a model that will suit the cultural context of Bangladesh. And it is quite an irony that the redevelopment projects that have been instigated by the different authorities like Rajdhani Unnayan Kortripokho or other organizations are not very much interested to develop our kind of models. So I must request the town planner, our dear Maqsood Hashim Bhai, because he is the town planner of DNCC. So I must request on behalf of the BIP to take these points into consideration so that we can develop our own models of redevelopment. And these social justice considerations must be in every planning initiative of Bangladesh, because like Dhaka city or any other big cities in Bangladesh, there are people living in informalities, living in slums or squatter settlements. So redevelopment is not kind of any attempt that is very fancy, I must say. So, and the affordability of Bangladesh, the DLCC, every common people of Bangladesh. So that should be the message we can carry on for the and next coming week. Thank again, Ashik Rahman bhai. UNDP is a long friend of BIP, so very much thanks to you for giving us so many important times from your valuable schedules. So Ashik bhai, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Adil and dear Adil bhai. And I think a wonderful summary you have made. So I'll not try to basically do that. And of course, you have also given thanks on behalf of the organizers. So as a chair, also I'd like to really thank my very distinguished key discussant presenters and the discussant. So, and since we have summarized very nicely, so what maybe before I close, I would like to also basically share my own takeaway, what I have basically learned, and from the very, I think, stimulating presentations and the conversations. So I see 4 takeaways from the what emerged from this conversation. One is that I think we need a vision in order to really materialize not only the urban redevelopment or renewal, rather entire urban development, a kind of a big reality for Bangladesh. And if I borrow from Jerry, so Jerry basically pointed out the grand vision, and I truly think Bangladesh need a grand vision when it comes to its urban future. And of course, and that includes also our urban sector policy, which has been outstanding since long. And so that's also one kind of building block when it comes to the urban vision. And we have really inspired to see when Jerry presented the vision for the Colombo, and of course that has came through the political leadership. And I think Bangladesh also needs some such strong and bold leadership when it comes to the urban development. And we have heard from our chief town planner of Dhaka North City Corporation, and I'm so happy to note that that kind of leadership we see from the present leadership of the Dhaka North City Corporation. So, and we have seen the trend from Mayor Anisul Haq, and also we see that now with the present Mayor, Mr. Atik. So that kind of bold vision and leadership is required to really take the sustainable urban agenda forward. I see that's the one key kind of cornerstone. And second, I think is the threads what coming out from the discussion is that we need more cutting edge solutions. We need the best practices, and that will informed by the global and the world kind of the experimentations, and from Asia, from Latin America, from anywhere in the world. So Bangladesh need to learn when it comes to particularly urban redevelopment. And we need also a lot of innovative ideas, and some of the innovations we have basically heard, and also one presentations we have seen, although that's coming from the academia, but I think that's where I see the future. And the third element, of course, I think is the basically common essence from all the discussions basically we had so far is the capacity of the execution. Execution is a very, I see the kind of big elephant in the room when it comes to Bangladesh. So, and is the capacity of the executing agencies who has been given the responsibility, the duty bearers who supposed to basically ensure that Bangladesh has the proper capacity and enforcement when it comes to planning. And with the capacity, one big aspect is financing. We have not have a chance to really dive deep on the financing, but again, this is an area also very critical when it comes to Bangladesh, that how we finance, not only finance comes from the public sector, but also private sector, also from other different innovative sources of financing. That remain a kind of an area of kind of attention, and probably Bangladesh have to really need to do a lot on that. And then last but not least is that we need a very enabling ecosystem. I think many ideas has basically came in. So we need a smart urban governance for Bangladesh to make redevelopment and renewal a reality that basically attain the sustainability. And when I say ecosystem, so that's basically, as I said, it's not only the public sector, it's also private sector to play, because private sector remain one of the large or biggest player when it comes to urban development. So how we can bring them in, what kind of enabling ecosystem we really provide to them, and that is incentive based, and that is win-win. We need a very strong regulatory system and the framework when you basically talk about the ecosystem. And last but not least, as I said, that have to be smart. So there's basically there's not only people friendly, there's also nature friendly. So we need more nature-based solutions. We don't simply want technical solutions. We have heard a wonderful story that how city also can address the whole issue of the biodiversity. So how we can make that also one of the cornerstone when it comes to livability. So that kind of things I see is a kind of takeaway for us, and also will remain as a kind of some of the like pressing discussions as we move forward with Bangladesh's development. So with that, again, thank you to all, and also thank you to the who has been connected us through the different Facebook and other digital platform, and also thanks to those who will listen us in future, since this digital version will be available in the web. And again, my big thanks to BIP for organizing this truly wonderful and truly international event. And I think this is brilliant, and that how to really, and thanks to Adil Bhai and also you're all like office executives of the Bangladesh Institute of Planners and the partners who have basically team up with you to organize this 6 days international conference. So I see that this conference is really becoming some signature event for Bangladesh. Since for the second time you have been doing it, I believe next time it will be much more bigger and with so many or many more stakeholders. So with that, thanks again, and have a very good evening, and please stay safe and stay committed for like inclusive and sustainable urban development for Bangladesh. Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you, Ashik Bhai. Now I would request to close the live streaming. So the technical persons who are involved, please close the live streaming sessions.